So this week, despite, I want to kind of state a preamble before we get started. The preamble is that despite the unpleasantries, the irritations, the little things that we don't like about in any job, in any job you ever will hold, you will have things about the job you don't like so much, right? But despite those things, I feel like here at Progressive that we're really lucky to work in a place like we work, because it's always interesting. It's always challenging. It's just never boring here. But there are parts of what we do here that we need to improve, okay? Last week, we focused on what we as leadership can do better. And then this week, we want to focus on things that everybody can do better. And then, I guess one thing I want to say is that some of what we're going to bring up may ruffle some feathers, but I just urge everyone to, listen, pay attention with an open mind. As I said last week, we all need to take a look at what we need to look at, and be open to feedback that we get at all times. Doesn't matter what position we're in. And I ask us all to do the same. But even if these are some things that are going to ruffle feathers, they are things that need to be discussed. Okay, they are things that need to be talked about. And so the piece that I think we need to, we have an interesting job, we have a challenging job, and we have a job that could really reflect a lot of professionalism. But I think that there are things about how things roll here that aren't so professional, and that's a lot. That's kind of the overarching topic that I want to address here, that we as leadership want to address. We've been talking about this together, and I want to start us off by sharing two things. One, after our meeting, well, I'll hold on that a minute. I mentioned last week that there was one other item in the suggestion box that I was holding off on, and I'm going to share some of that. This is something I'm going to literally share directly from this suggestion because it's so well put, and we appreciate this feedback that we received. But I'm going to just proceed. Some concerns. This person was writing to express concerns. One concern that was brought up was that it seems that there are at times disparity in how activities are planned and carried out, and we've looked at this, and the solution that we've talked about, and I know that Andre's already talked with his team about, is they're going to start effective in March. So not this week, but next, right at the beginning of March, is they'll have a set schedule of the outings so that every week will be the same outing. So all groups in that month get to have the same outing. They'll all be told at the beginning of the month what the outing is, so if it involves money, they can put it aside and plan for it, even if they're happening in the last week. Then it's on them. If they wait, if they blow their money, that's on them. But they will know ahead of time what the outing will be and basically what the cost, what they need to make sure they have for that. So that's some feedback and some solutions. Further on in this feedback, it was stated, it's essential that we treat every patient with dignity and respect. There have been troubling incidents where staff behavior has been demeaning and humiliating, which not only impacts patient well-being, but could also have long-lasting negative effects on their trust in the treatment process. And then some examples. One example, a staff member was overheard directing a patient to get on your knees and say sorry. Said it in a joking manner. That's not a joke. That's demeaning. That's humiliating. It's not funny. Another example, required a patient to publicly apologize in front of the group. Again, that situation resulted in the patient feeling compelled to apologize, not because they genuinely felt it was necessary, but because they feared exclusion from the group. Again, very demeaning to demand that someone apologize in front of the group and call them out in front of the group. The person felt humiliated. It's not being thoughtful about our interactions with our patients. This is heard at times. Back up and don't think I'm playing with you. Again, it's a nasty tone. It's a one-up attitude of ordering a patient around. We know that patients have been told, if you don't like it, you can leave. Our job isn't to try to, help encourage patients to leave their treatment. Our job is to try to prevent patients from leaving prematurely. Our job is to try and help them make gains, not just they're a pain in the butt, so if you don't like it here, you can leave. Again, that's not a positive, recovery-oriented approach to our treatment process. Some staff members have expressed that certain patients, quote, do not deserve certain privileges or treatments because of why they're here. This view is discriminatory and completely unacceptable. Yeah, I underline that. No patient doesn't deserve to be here. They are here for treatment. They have diagnoses, they have illnesses. They're not guilty of anything, folks. They deserve treatment. And lots of times we forget that their behavior are symptoms of their illnesses, symptoms of addiction, symptoms of depression, symptoms of schizoaffective, they're symptoms of their illnesses. Yeah, it's hard to deal with. That's what makes this place interesting and challenging. But that's why we're here, and that's why we've chosen to be in these fields. Finally, this person wrote, the lack of professionalism when supervisors are absent contributes to a negative and unprofessional atmosphere. Staff must hold themselves accountable at all times, regardless of whether supervision is present. And they finished by saying, by creating a respectful and supportive environment, we improve the chances for positive patient outcomes and create a space where both staff and patients can thrive. And that is our goal as well. I was blown away by this. It was so well presented, so well stated, with completely the patient's and staff's well-being at the forefront of what was brought forth here. So I'm going to proceed, and we're going to proceed with some additional things that need to be addressed, but this is the umbrella that we're speaking under, okay? So one of the other things that happened after last week was there, I won't hold it up, but there was a big note. All phones on silent. One of the things that we've seen repeatedly is we're in this staff meeting, we're in morning staffings, we're walking through areas, and people are hanging out on their phones. In a meeting, that's extraordinarily disrespectful. It's extraordinarily unprofessional. When you're on your job, sitting in employee support or in the tech or wherever, playing games on your phone, that's not okay. Having multiple calls from outside folks. We've had instances where staff members have been on FaceTime Live while at work here. That is absolutely not okay. I had to be educated about this. Facebook Live. See, I said it wrong.
And FaceTime.
And FaceTiming. And with people on speakerphone. That's a breach of confidentiality, folks. And Facebook Live is live for any and all. We are in our workplace here. That's never okay. So going forward in morning staff meetings, in tech afternoon meetings, in nursing meetings, in clinical meetings, here, no phones should be not on silent. And no phone should be like this. And that is a clear expectation that I have of everyone. So moving forward, want to address the dress code. We addressed this before, and people kind of got on board, and it seems to be sliding back. So we're going to address it again. We handed out the attire rules at Progressive. We handed them out, and I didn't really go through all of them at the time. I hit the highlights, but I think I'm going to go through all of them. We just need to remember, again, the professionalism that we need to have here at Progressive, so all attire needs to be professional and appropriate. Monday through Thursday is when we have regular business attire. Sweatshirts can be worn on casual Fridays only, and jeans can be worn on casual Fridays only, unless we let you know, if there's extreme weather or something like that, we'll let you know, yes, you can wear jeans today. Dress pants should not be super tight. No t-shirts except on Fridays, and again, watch any messages, nothing political, religious, drug-related, implied profanity, that kind of thing. Scrubs should be appropriate and not tight-fitting. Blouses need to be appropriate, nothing strappy or low-cut. They need to be long enough to cover our bottom if we're wearing something leggings are okay. If you have a long top to cover your bottom, again, we need to remember our patient population here, okay? And remember that we're at work, we're not after work, we're not at after hours. No workout clothes or lounge around the house clothes, no sweatsuits, joggers, no all-in-ones. No shorts at all except for staff versus patient volleyball games, and that does include Fridays, no shorts, okay? Let's see. Shoes need to be appropriate, please. No Crocs, no flip-flops, no sandals without a back. Heels, that's a safety issue. We need to be able to run for a code, and I don't want folks hurting themselves running for a code, okay? Earrings need to be studs and not dangling, and that includes nose rings. Hats You can wear a baseball cap, but, again, no caps worn in, groups. We ask our patients not to wear baseball caps in groups. I expect that of the staff as well. And then no caps flipped backwards, okay? Let's see. Fingernails. The policy per Seaside is 1/4 inch length. I give us a break and say 1/2 inch, okay? And those are infection control processes. Okay.
And no holes in jeans.
And no holes in jeans. Yeah, I know some, fashion is it, but not in the workplace. Jeans with holes in them. Okay. Moving on to some other topics that are more not so specific that way. Sometimes we see folks hollering across the campus for patients. Again, keep in mind that we want to stay professional. One thing that we need to do, this is for the techs with your logbook. Think of the logbook similar to an incident report. It's important not to write your opinions. It's important because otherwise it gets read in the morning staffing and it sounds like a fact. Okay, so treat that logbook kind of similar.
Hold on 1 second. Whose phone is vibrating? It's ringing. Turn your phone on vibrate.
Thanks. So just be aware that, just kind of like stick to the facts of what happened. We've already been dealing with the phones issue. One more thing, if your family has an emergency, of course, they can, deal with that. But, again, don't hang out on personal calls just because you want to hang out on personal calls. Being on time for work, okay? Being on time for work, being on time for work is 8 a.m. For staffing in the morning is 8:15. If for some reason you are late and you've let your supervisor know what's going on, it's on you to find out what you missed. It's not on everybody else who was here to search you out and fill you in. And those who are habitually late will be written up because it's gotten out of control. And I'm sorry this has to get to this point. Discussing patients' confidential information. We go over this all the time. But one example of this that I think that sometimes people don't think about is negatively talking about former patients. You find out ex-patients returning and then negatively talking about them in the staff room or with just wherever, with other staff members. Oh God, so-and-so's coming back. Geez, I can't believe that person's coming back, blah, 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 blah. It's, that's unprofessional. That's negative. It only adds to a negative atmosphere. For that patient's new therapist, that's negatively impacting their view of that patient. That patient doesn't get to come back with a clean slate and start fresh. So be aware of how we discuss our patients, and we all know about being careful of discussing confidential information out on walkways and things like that, or in areas where you can be overheard. But even, as I'm saying, be aware of how we're talking with each other about our patients as well. Okay. All right, then on to some other, now I'm moving into the may ruffle your feathers areas.
I thought that was it.
Oh, you thought that was the sorry. And y'all feel free to jump
And
in.
I don't know, with the patient's past days too, just be mindful, that we're not like going to patients and saying last time they were here, oh yeah, such and such, last time he was here, he was a real, handful, like from a staff to a patient. So just kind of be mindful of that, because sometimes that does happen, and like patients will come to other staff members and say, like a staff member said, last time such and such was here, they did, it's like, whoa, wait, you shouldn't know anything about that, so just be mindful of that.
Yeah, good, thank you. Okay, lots of times we'll make negative assumptions, and this kind of flows into that. Our negative assumptions about how a patient's gonna be when they come back, and that negatively affects our coworkers, right? And I think Shayla had mentioned this, how, instead we need to ask of ourselves, how am I contributing to employee morale? Am I helping lift up, or am I doing the put downs? Am I helping it be a recovery oriented atmosphere and environment here? We need to be mindful of that affects our morale of each other, and that it certainly affects the treatment outcomes for our patients. Sometimes people throw out comments, oh, they look high, they're high, they're acting high, when you don't know what's going on. Certainly if you have a concern about a patient, bring it to your supervisor, bring it to nursing, bring it, but without the judgment, please, okay? It might be a medication. Maybe this person's on a new medication that has them kind of loopy a little bit, they're getting used to. That happens. But we can come across to each other with a real judgy attitude toward our patients. Taking things too personally. Oftentimes we hear feedback and feel like it's a personal attack when it's really directed at everybody. And the thing is, yes, take a look at yourself. If it fits, we want to change that. I'm hoping you want to grow and do better. But sometimes people, you'll take it too personally when our patients have negative bad behaviors. Again, that's part of what brings them here. And when they spout off at us and holler and scream and curse, it's not gonna help anything when you haven't. I think Paulette mentioned, you gotta learn how to let things roll and not take things personally. We've all been cursed at, it's not okay, and we're instituting the consequences for cursing at staff members, okay? But also, you gotta roll forward, folks. Let it go and roll forward. Don't ignore it. Let people know that this happened so we can address it. But for your own well-being, take a look at that. If you find yourself just really getting worked up over things, take a look at that. That it's like we have to be able to put on a little bit of professional armor in the business that we're in, so that things don't eat at us, hit us too personally when it really isn't even about us, okay? Does anybody want to elaborate on that right now? Not necessarily, okay. I've spoken some to this, gossip, messy, if you don't know something is a fact, don't spread it. But even if it's factual, if it's something that's messy, don't be messy. We we fight that all the time. People kind of spreading stuff out of messiness. Be aware of that. Talking down to patients. Our patients are adults. Yes, they sometimes act like children. Yes, they sometimes have very bad behavior. We don't know, other than their therapists, we don't know our patient's history intimately. Okay, we don't know what they've been through. We don't know what kind of family they grew up in, what the norm in that family was. Doesn't mean it's okay, but they are adults. We need to treat them as adults and not talk down to them, not be one up. I'm up here, they're down here, nor with anybody. Be aware of that. In terms of the over-personalizing, staff at times over-identifies with their patients. This can be a struggle. You don't hear the whole picture, and you buy hook, line, and sinker what your patient has to say. And I'm sorry, folks, but part of the illness descriptor of addiction is a history of lying. Okay, that's part of the disease. That's part of what's been helping them get through life in their addiction. Okay, mental illness, family upbringing, all those things. Our patients historically aren't always honest. And they don't always, and we're all guilty of skewing a situation to make us not look so bad, maybe, right? Well, our patients are pros at that. But be careful about just automatically, well, my patient said blah, blah, blah. And oftentimes what we've seen, which is pretty surprising, staff members will believe the patient because of that blurring of boundaries, of professional boundaries. They'll believe the patient over a staff member who was there and witnessed the event. A staff member who spoke directly with that patient and the patient fessed up that, well, I did do that. But we've had that happen where and you gotta watch your own boundaries with things like that. And I guess in some ways it's like you need to develop a little healthy skepticism, okay? And that's part of having some healthy boundaries in this profession. I'm not saying always, I don't believe you. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying you have to protect, your objectivity, maybe is a way to put it. And I guess the flip side is, I've been here, I'm sure we've all been here, where we believed what a patient told us. They're very convincing. We believe them. And we think we have this wonderful, trusting relationship with that patient. And then we find out they were lying. That's painful. It's painful to be in that position of being lied to when you put your heart out there for that patient. So I know what that feels like. Most of us have all experienced that. But that maybe is a time to reflect on and go back to and help yourself develop a little of that professional, healthy skepticism, okay? Another thing is, lots of times folks have difficulty understanding that every patient is in a different place. And we have a very wide range of patients and their capabilities. We have a very wide range of even patients who are actively psychotic and how they show that. We have many patients here who hear voices all the time or sporadically, and you would never know it unless you are in that really, really good interaction with them where it comes out. And versus, we have some folks who are talking to themselves a lot, and I mean, we know they're hearing voices, right? But that's just example of one diagnosis, right? Psychosis. So take that with depression, take that with the addiction, take that with bipolar. There are such strong and big ranges in these, and we need to remember that our patients are at different places, and we need to give them credit for the gains they make, even if they're very small. We need to not judge their behaviors as just manipulative, just, when it might not be just.
Oh, tell them one thing, the patient, they're just acting weird, they're acting crazy, nothing's wrong with them.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all could hear that. We've heard it, people say, oh, that patient's just acting weird. They're just acting weird like that. There's nothing wrong with them. No. And we have a lot of patients like that it's hard to see the underlying what's going on. Like James D. It's hard to see how truly depressed he is, but he is. We could name all kinds of patients who it's hard to really see. But, I guess one thing to remind yourselves is people don't get on Medicare disability very easily. It's not something that's given out lightly. All of our patients have that disability. They have it for a reason. They do have these illnesses. They're not just acting, they're not just playing, to work the system. Passing the buck. Have an attitude that, or even saying, we've heard, oh, that's not my job. That's not my job. No, don't pass the buck. Take ownership of things, pitch in. If it is something that you need to ask for assistance from somebody else or direct a patient to another person, do what's called a warm handoff. Make the phone call. Hey, Emily, I'm sending John over to you. He's got a question, blah, 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 blah. John, do you know where Emily's office is? Walk them over there, just like the people in Walmart do when I don't know where something is. Might be helpful, in other words. Let's be helpful. Don't pass the buck, and be helpful.
What'd you say? I'm sorry. Go ahead. You want the mic?
I said Walmart wasn't a good example, maybe Target.
Okay.
It depends which one you go to, or maybe which person you catch at the time.
They need to be in this meeting?
Yeah.
Walmart?
So in other words, we want to provide customer service, okay? Another thing that comes up is people don't want to address the difficult issues and this is a pass the buck. Want leadership to handle the difficult issues. Want leadership to deal with relationship problems, with hygiene problems, with money problems. Want case managers to only talk about money with the patients, money issue, they're not paying their rent or whatever. No, we all, we need to address things directly. And there's a fear on the therapist part that, if I talk about these difficult things, it'll affect my relationship with the patient. No, it won't. This is, you don't know how many times I've had patients come to me and say, my therapist won't challenge me. My therapist won't really, won't challenge me. Well, part of challenging them is addressing the difficult stuff. And I'm gonna say this, like if you were in private practice, you better address the difficult stuff. And it's not gonna, yeah. The patient might be upset for a little bit, but you're probably in the best position to deal with it with care and knowing their background and being able to, deal with it effectively. Not that leadership can't. Leadership is there to help and assist and support, but it's not about passing the buck and avoiding dealing with the hard stuff. Take a look at that if you're guilty of that. There's a question?
So we do talk to them about, everything, but, it's like when we bring it to staffing, they want us to talk to them again, and then we talk to them again, and it's the same, it's a repeated cycle, so like at that point, what do we do? Because it's like we're just talking to them and it goes in one ear and out the other.
So
Like,
at
what do
that
we do
point, yes, at that point, be clear and say, I've talked to my patient about this exact issue 3 times now, and I'm not getting anywhere. I need some help. And yeah, then it's appropriate for staff for leadership to jump in and meet with you with that patient. Ask them ahead of time. I met with a patient twice, or I'm about to meet with a patient. And do you have any ideas of how to broach it? It's fine to go ahead and ask for support, but some folks don't want to even do it once or twice, okay? Let's see. There are times when we don't treat each other with respect, okay? And we're all gonna disagree at times. We disagree at times, plenty of times. And that's gonna happen if you're having healthy discussions about trying to solve stuff. You're gonna disagree about what to do, what direction to take, what should be an ultimate answer, so it's okay to disagree, but we expect staff to work through things together and move forward from a disagreement and not let things hang and be, hold on to resentments, not continue with passive aggressive sideways crap, okay? We expect you to be adults and professional, and we might disagree, but we're still all we still all need to be solution focused. I think Andre said this. We need to be solution focused, and remember that we're here to try to find the solution that's best for the patient. And it's not about who is right. It's not about winning. It's not about winning an argument, or it's okay to disagree, agree to disagree about something, but ultimately we do need to find solutions to things and not let disagreements ruin our day, ruin going forward at work, ruin continued relationships. And I guess something that goes along with this is a final thing I guess I want to hit on is that people can be quite defensive at times and have real difficulty tolerating constructive feedback. And the thing is, I always go back to that's one of the kind of the gems of working in this field is we always are expected to grow professionally. We are. And what a side benefit of that is we grow personally as well. But you're not going to grow if you're defensive about feedback. It's so important to try to remain open. It might be that it's, it's painful at first, right then, but please go home and think about it. Please go home and let it sink in and, it's the whole, if one person tells you you have a tail, maybe two people tell you you have a tail, maybe you need to turn around and take a look, right? You know, if something's being brought to your attention in a constructive and honest manner, take a look at it. That's what helps us grow professionally and personally. Does anybody have anything else to add?
Just, the earbuds. One thing we forgot was the earbuds in your ear. I know it's comfortable to have them in there all the time, but we shouldn't be walking around with earbuds in our ear. It's a major safety concern. If a patient hits you in your ear, you possibly damage your ear. I do know that that's the way of the world, not technology. Once you finish your call, take your earbuds out. In a group setting, no earbuds in group. It's not professional, and once again, it's a safety risk. So just be mindful of that.
Does anybody have any questions or any comments? Yes.
A patient said something about relapse prevention day, annual, coming up in March.
Okay.
Is that?
And they're off.
And we're off.
Oh, that's a day off for them.
Pulling your leg, Sandra.
No, that would be a day like extra groups. No, but thanks for bringing that up, because we can make sure that we have special focus on that.
If it is,
Yeah, for therapists. Yeah, we'll Google it and see. Because, I mean, there really probably is a relapse prevention day, but we'll see.
And they're not
Yeah.
off.
Said March 3rd.
And no, they're not off.
March 3rd is payday,
Yeah.
money day, not relapse prevention day,
Yeah.
but it can be.
Right. Anybody else? I appreciate everybody's attention very much, and I just ask you all to think about some of this, pay attention to it, don't let it just fall to the wayside. So, thanks very much, everyone.